I was only 10 years old, the summer everything dried up. Our village was small, tucked away between dusty hills that hadn't seen a proper rain in over 2 years. Cracks ran across the ground like angry veins, and even the old well, our only source of water, had turned into a deep, empty hole. The crops withered, the animals grew thin, and the people, well, they stopped smiling. My name is Sami. My father was a farmer, like his father before him, and his before that. But now the fields were dust, the seeds were dead, and my father had taken to sitting in silence, staring out at the horizon. Hope, like the water, was disappearing fast. I spent most days wandering the hills, looking for anything worth collecting, fallen sticks to sell for firewood, berries to eat, or just a distraction from the hunger that gnawed at my belly. One day, I found something different. It had rained lightly during the night, not in the village, but up in the hills. There, nestled between two stones, was a puddle of clean, glistening water. It looked magical. I stared at it for a long time, watching how the sun danced on its surface. Then I remembered the old glass jars we had back home, the ones my mother used for pickles before the garden dried out. I filled an empty jar with the rainwater and carried it back down, careful not to spill a drop. That evening, as I sat in the village square with my jar beside me, I noticed people staring. "Is that real water?" someone asked. "Where did you find it?" asked another. I looked at them, then at the jar, and suddenly, I said something that surprised even me. "It's not just water," I said. "It's hope. I'm selling it." A silence fell. Then came laughter, loud and mocking. "Selling water? From a child? Is this a joke? Who would buy a drop of water when the whole village is thirsty?" But then old Amina, the village widow, hobbled over. Her eyes were sunken, her lips cracked, but she smiled gently. She placed a coin in my hand. "I'll buy it," she said. "If it truly is hope, it's worth more than gold." She took the jar and cradled it in her lap like a treasure. And just like that, the boy who sold rain was born. The next morning, I returned to the hills. The puddle was gone, but I walked farther, up to a shaded cave I'd never dared to explore. Inside, water trickled down the walls into a shallow pool. It wasn't much, but it was enough to fill 3 jars. I carried them back and set up a small wooden crate in the square. I painted a crooked sign: "Rain jars, hope in a bottle, 1 coin." Again, the villagers laughed. But again, 1 or 2 people bought, and every day, I returned with more. Some kept the jars on shelves, others sipped from them once a day, claiming they felt stronger. A few even whispered that their dreams were clearer since buying my rain. Whether it was true or just belief, I didn't care. Because with each coin, I bought food for my family. A little rice, a little lentil, enough to keep us going. And each night, my father's eyes looked less empty. But then, the problems began. One morning, a tall man in a leather vest knocked over my crate. "You're cheating people," he snarled. "This isn't magic, it's just water." I stood my ground. "It's more than water. It's a reminder that rain can return, that we can survive." "Lies," he shouted. Others began to murmur. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was just a foolish child. But then Amina stood again. "You say it's a lie," she told the man. "But this boy gave us something you never could: belief." The man huffed and left. But I knew my time in the square was limited. I needed to do more. That night, I walked to the elders' hut. They were gathered in the dark, planning what little food to distribute. I stood at the door. "I want to build a well," I said. They blinked. "A well?" "Yes," I said. "A real one. Deeper than the old one. With the money from my jars." One of them scoffed. "You're a child. What do you know of wells?" "I know we'll die if we don't try something," I said. The room fell silent. Then, slowly, the chief nodded. "If you can gather enough coins, We'll send for the builders. I worked harder than ever. I climbed higher, found hidden springs, learned to filter and purify the water. My jars sold faster now. Some people even donated more than a coin, just to support the dream. And after 3 months, I had enough. The well took weeks to dig. The entire village watched as the builders drilled into the earth, inch by inch, deeper than before. Finally, on the 37th day, they struck water. Real, clean, cold water. The village cried. People laughed. Some danced in the spray. I just stood quietly, holding one last jar of rain, knowing I wouldn't need to sell them anymore. That night, Amina gave me back her jar. "Keep it," she said, "to remember where it all began." Years passed. The rains eventually returned. The crops came back. So did the smiles. And me? I never became rich, but I became something better. A symbol. To this day, the village well has a plaque.